Hands-on History. My name is Rachel Goldberg and I'm the programs coordinator here at the Manassas Museum. And each week we've been bringing you a little activity, hands-on craft that directly relates to some aspect of local history. This week we are excited to be bringing you a new exhibit here at the museum that at some point this summer, hopefully you'll be able to come see in person. Otherwise, we'll be bringing it to you online, on Facebook, so be sure to be checking back. This new exhibit focuses entirely on objects in our collection that are made of paper. And so we'll have letters and documents and maps and all sorts of other treasures that are made of paper. And so for the next few weeks, our hands-on history craft is going to be riffing off of that exhibit, and we'll be focusing on artwork on paper. So to start with, we're going to design our own paper today. So I have some examples here of some designed paper that I've made, and today you are going to design your own paper. So these are just a few that I've done myself. And to do these, the fun thing about this is that it's very experimental, it's very go with the flow. There is no one right answer to designing your own paper. You can do it however you'd like. And so I just scoured my drawers, looked in my cabinets, looked in every bin in my garage, and found all kinds of different supplies that we're going to use today to design paper. So what you really want to look for in your cabinets and in your bins in your garage are things that can make marks. So I have some colored pencils, you might have markers, I have some crayons, I have oil pastels, I even have some glitter glue. There are tempera paints here, but I've also used house paint. You can use watercolor paint, you can use acrylic, you can use whatever mark making things you want. I don't have any markers because I couldn't find any. You might have markers at home. And then I've got things to apply paint and other things to paper. I've got brushes, I've got a toothbrush, this is one of my favorite tools. I also enjoy using this foam brush, so lots of different ways you can apply paint and other marks to paper. You might also want to look for things that can create texture. So I've got this cup, I like to use the rim of the cup to stamp on things. I found these stamps and an ink pad, so we might use those to stamp on things. We also have other things that can be used for texture. This is a rug pad that you would put underneath a rug, and I've just cut it up into little pieces. I have some gauze, some textured corrugated paper. Bubble wrap is a fun design to use. Anything, again, that can create texture. Tissue paper can make a great texture. It can also make a beautiful layer. I have some newspaper over here that you can see how I've used newspaper here in this piece of paper. And then I've also just got some kind of random things that I have found around. I've got my scissors just in case. I have some decorative tape if you want to use something like that. I've found these in my programming materials. I thought that these might be fun to use. You can see in this one how I've used one of those. I've got some sponges that I've cut up into little pieces that make great texture. And I also have some cotton balls. I think that is everything I have. I can't wait to see what you all find in your pantries. And to get started, we are just going to take a piece of paper. It can be any kind of paper. I'm going to use a kind of heavier paper. I think I'll start with this one today. I haven't used this one yet, so I'll start with this one today. It's just sort of a cardstock weight, almost resume looking paper is what we're going to use with this one. Now, there are so many choices on the table in front of me today. I think I'm going to narrow it down to just one color. I'm gonna focus on one color today. And so that will help me make specific choices about what I'm going to use and what kind of marks I'm going to make. So we're going to start by just putting some marks on the paper, and I think my one color for today will be purple, because I just don't think there's enough purple in the world. So we're going to start by just scribbling, putting some marks down. Whoops, putting some marks down. And so the next thing we're going to do is put down some purple paint. And so in these tempera paints that I found, I didn't find any purple, so we'll have to make some purple. And to make purple, we will mix red and blue. Then let's see, how do we want to put this on our paper? I'm going to use my favorite foam brush. I'm not going to wet it first. You can wet it if you want to. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to take my foam brush and get some of this lilac paint on there and start putting it on my paper. Put this over here so you can see my paper better. So again, there's no one right way to do this. We're just building up layers on our paper. Now we're going to start building some texture. We're going to start adding things to it. So let's start by maybe adding some purple tissue paper. And I have a bunch of different colors of purple in my tissue paper. So there's two. Let's find one more pretty purple color. Oh, that's the same. This could be interesting. Oh yeah, those are nice. So these cut edges are nice, but I love just the look of some torn edges. So I'm going to tear some strips, and so I get that kind of nice rough edge. Not worried about the shape of my strips at all. I'm just gonna tear these ends so that they look torn. Now, I've got my torn pieces of tissue paper, and I'm going to take my glue stick, and you can either apply the glue directly to the paper or you can apply it to the tissue paper. I'm gonna just put down a bunch of glue stick. Whoa. And we'll put our tissue paper into the glue stick. So I'm just going to put it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. There, that one just kind of fell in. And you can bunch it up a little bit to give it some texture. Tissue paper is a beautiful layering piece. So that's one layer. Maybe we should add a little newspaper in here as well. I think that might look pretty. So I'm not even looking at the words that I'm tearing out. I'm just tearing some stuff out. But I am being mindful. I'm not using a picture. I'm just using some random words. They're even upside down. And now I'm going to go in with a little bit of texture. So we have, what, 3 layers now? We've got our base layer of the drawings, the scribbles, and you can kind of see them coming through in the background. And then we have our second layer of that sort of purple gray paint, and you can see the texture that creates on the paper. And then we have this third layer of glue stick and tissue paper and newsprint. So now I'm going to create some more texture with a little bit of white paint. And one of my favorite ways to make texture on paper is with bubble wrap. So we'll use a little bit of bubble wrap, and I'm going to use this brush that I used before. Actually, I'm going to use this brush that I used before. I'm going to paint the white right onto my bubble wrap, the puffy side. And you can see I still have some of that gray paint on my brush, but that is part of the fun, is kind of not knowing exactly what you're gonna get. So we're gonna paint this and we're gonna use it like a stamp. So now I'm gonna take this piece of bubble wrap that I've painted. I'm just going to go straight across my paper, make a line of bubble wrap. Now I'm just barely tapping that down. I wanna make sure that all the bubbles touch the paper. It's a fun texture. I'm gonna go all the way across. I'm not adding more paint to it, just going across and getting the paint that's on it. There we go. And see, I put a fingerprint on it right there. I don't mind. So now I'm going to continue adding texture. I think I'm gonna take a piece of my tissue paper and also make some more lavender paint. Now remember, we're going to be using this paper for future activities. So on down the road, in the next few hands-on history videos, we're going to be using this paper that we're making today to create other crafts. So you might want to keep that in mind while you're making your paper. Don't get too attached to any of your specific paper, because you might be cutting it up or shredding it up or making it smaller so that you can use it for other crafts. I've mixed up some purplish color and I'm gonna take my tissue paper, I'm gonna crumble it up and open it up again, and we're gonna use these little folds as a texture maker. So I'm gonna take this and use it as like a sponge. I will dip it in my paint. Don't get it too wet, and I'm gonna actually get some of that off, and I'm just gonna go around and stamp on my paper. That is not as light on the paper as it looks on the plate. So we'll pick up some more of that, and I might take one of my sponges and dip it in, get some of that off, and just kind of go around the paper. And just keep layering. Layer and layer and layer and layer. And again, if there's this part you don't like, you can wipe it off. If you want to cover it up, you can paint over it. You can just add as many layers as you like. I might even, here's something fun that I like to do. I'm gonna pour some straight white onto my palette. I'm going to take my toothbrush and dip it into the white. Scooping up, making it nice and goopy. And I'm just gonna spray it on my paper. You can see those bubbles start to come, and adds a nice extra layer. And I'm gonna leave these, well, actually gonna dab off. Oh, talk about texture. We just got cotton on there. It's beautiful. So we'll leave that. It's starting to look like a starry sky. I like it. I'm just gonna take off the big piece of cotton, but I'm leaving some cotton in there. Going to use another piece of tissue paper to get. Now, one of my favorite things to add to any design my own paper is a little sparkle. So no paper, in my opinion, is complete without a little bit of glitter glue. Now, if you've got kids at home, you know what a mess glitter can make. So that's where glitter glue can be your friend, as opposed to putting down glue and then sprinkling glitter into it. If you have small kids and you don't want to have, or if you have grown kids and you don't want to have loose glitter around your house for all the reasons, glitter glue can be the answer to your glitter needs. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this glitter glue and I'm just gonna do that with it. And then I'm going to take my foam brush that we used earlier to put down that base layer. I'm just gonna spread my glitter out because a little bit of glitter goes a long way. And so that, I think, looks like a pretty good page. We could keep going with it. You could add more layers. You could add some letters in if you wanted to. There's all sorts of things you could continue to add. For now, I'm going to put this piece of paper aside and add it to my stack of other pieces of paper. And maybe I'll revisit it later, or maybe I won't. In the end, this is my piece of paper that I designed for today using just purples and things that I found in my cabinet. So remember, as much as it's about putting things on, you can also, one thing I didn't really do much of today is take things off. So you can use a toothpick to scrape away at places if you want to. You can use a plastic knife or fork to scrape away at things. It makes a nice texture and can take off some extra paint or glue if you've put too much on. So have fun, experiment, and just get carried away. Make as many pieces of paper as you want until you run out of supplies. So meet us back here next Tuesday for Hands-On History, where we're going to be using some of these papers that we've designed together today to create a family flag in honor of Flag Day. And to learn a little bit more about flags in our collection, be sure to tune in on Wednesday for our curator, Mary Helen Dellinger, will be giving a talk about flags in our collection. So be sure to join us at noon on Wednesday for that talk too. Thanks so much. See you next time.